All right. Good evening and welcome to the October 17th, 2022 meeting of the City of Summit Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Stephen Spur and I am Chairman of the Summit Zoning Board. In accordance with New Jersey Statute 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to a newspaper of record and has been posted here in City Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. For the benefit of the interested public, this meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube page and also broadcast on Summit's government channel, which is Comcast Channel 34 and Verizon Channel 30. Please note that the fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room where you entered. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter. Andy Ball is the zoning board's attorney. He will advise the board members on matters of law and is the key interface with an applicant's attorney. Mr. Ball does not vote on the applications. This evening we have two board secretaries, Matt Delory and Stephanie, remind me how to pronounce your last name? Sulios, Stephanie Sulios, who we're excited to have. Neither Matt nor Stephanie will be voting on the applications this evening. They'll both assist applicants with preparation of their applications, planning our agendas, and keeping our meeting minutes. Our board consists of 7 regular members and up to 4 alternates. All members can participate in the hearings tonight, but a maximum of 7 can vote. Most applications require a simple majority to be approved. Some applications require 5 affirmative votes to be approved. You'll be told which majority will be required before we begin our deliberations. Mr. Delory, will you call the roll of the members?
I will, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Spur?
Here.
Mr. Steiner?
Here.
Ms. Newell?
Here.
Mr. Yuko?
Here.
Mr. Mullen?
Here.
Mr. Millay?
Here.
Mr. Leukitz?
Here.
Ms. Toth?
Here.
Ms. Sager?
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
And the attorney and myself standing in the secretary are present. You may proceed with your quorum.
Thank you very much. We generally hear the applications in the order they are listed on the agenda. We try to have each hearing last no more than 30 minutes, but we do understand that some applications are too complex to be heard within that time frame. Each hearing begins with the applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application and the variances that are required. We will then hear from any expert witnesses the applicant may have to help explain the application and why the variances are needed. The board members may ask questions of the applicant, their attorney, and the expert witnesses. Once the board professionals and board members have completed their questioning, the public will have an opportunity to ask questions. This is not the time to tell us what you think about this application. That opportunity comes at the end of the hearing. Before you ask your questions, please clearly state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address. It is important that our court reporter be able to keep a clear and accurate public record. Court reporting is being conducted over video and audio recordings. After all witnesses have been heard, members of the interested public have their second opportunity to speak, and at that time you may express your opinion, positive or negative, about the application. Then the public hearing is closed and we enter into executive session where board members discuss the application and vote. You will be able to listen to our executive session, but you will not normally be able to participate in the discussion. Most applications are heard and decided in the same evening. If an application requires additional information or testimony that cannot be presented tonight, we will carry your application to another date, and it will not be decided during this meeting. Krista Anderson, the city's zoning officer, has asked that I remind all applicants that they must read carefully the resolution that documents the zoning board's decision and to pay particular attention to the conditions noted in the resolution. For example, if a landscaping plan is required, you must obtain one and submit it to John Lenson, the city's forester. If a grading plan is required, you must have one prepared by a civil engineer and submit 3 copies along with the application fee to the city's engineering division. Failure to satisfy all conditions in a resolution will result in a delay in approving your application, as it will necessitate additional follow-up from zoning and other city staff. The resolutions documenting the board's decision will normally be available 1 month after we decide the applications. Before we call the sole application for the evening, if you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The sole hearing for this evening, scheduled hearing, is STMB Properties 557565. Mr. Weber, would you care to update the board on the status of this application?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. James Weber of Alfonso and Weber on behalf of the applicant. As the board may be aware, we had filed the revised plans after Labor Day. They were dated September 9th, September 12th, we've received the reviews of the various board consultants. One of the reviews came in later than expected from the fire department. Fire department, in its original review, indicated that they were unequivocally opposed to the proposed 90 triple car stackers. That was a mistake. There were not 90 triple car stackers. It was later revised by the chief the following day, but they still confirmed that they thought there were 90 triple car stackers and 8 electric car charging stations associated with the application. Because of this, we've been unable, even though there has been communication on Friday and today to have this resolved, the ability to present the board with the final report of the fire department consistent with what's proposed so that the board members have an opportunity to review it and understand it has passed us by. So we just tried to get it in to you, but we've been unable to beat the clock in that regard. As a result, in order that these fire safety issues are appropriately addressed and managed in the best way possible, and the Flanagans certainly have indicated to us saying, let's make sure we get this right. This is important to us. We want this done correctly. So let's make sure that we can manage this correctly rather than coming to the board with an 11th hour attempt to resolve what can be resolved appropriately. We're requesting that the board allow us to adjourn this as much as we don't want to adjourn it. We were already completely to present this and have the board final vote on this. We're asking that he carry the application.
Okay. So news of a short night from probably most board members, so you're welcome. Early Christmas gift for everyone. And thank you very much, first of all, Mr. Weber, Mr. Flanagan, the Flanagans, for taking very seriously the fire chief's recommendations, though likely erroneous, to resolve those and resolve them fully. I think every now and then we feel like we can fudge the placement of a tree on a landscaping plan, but fire safety is something that's non-negotiable for, I would say, safely the board and for the city. So appreciate this is delaying the project on your part and the decision of the board, and that likely was not met with pleasant remarks by the Flanagans, but Mr. Weber, thank you very much for working with the board professionals to see that through. So I think Stephanie and Matt, we had heard that December 22nd was likely the carry date?
Correct.
Okay. So with that, we'll look to hear this again, and for the last time. I think both sides of the dais likely feel that way. And I heard, though, some whisper from members of the board that they may be interested in seeing.
Not really a whisper, kind of a very out loud thought.
That's right. The thundering voice of Vice Chair Steiner came to me and said, "We'd like to see this."
I would like to see this if we're going to carry this, and understand that we had said that we were going to vote on this, and we did a straw vote, and we all know how that would have resulted. And I was in favor of it. I believe that the folks who showed up at all of these hearings and thought that we were just going to go through a short, maybe a review here or there. Instead, we are seeing a significantly revised case with numbers different, units different. I would like to see this carried with notice so that the entire community, within 200 feet and whatever notices are required, will be undertaken again so that those folks have another chance to appear here on 3 days before Christmas, on the 22nd.
I don't believe that we need to carry it over, so I object to that. I have a few things to say. First of all, this issue with the stacked parking and the valet parking is the major issue. 3 hearings ago, I remember proposing to this board that a vote on that issue be carried, that we vote on that issue because it is the major thing. The stacked parking and the valet parking is the whole reason that we are looking at this application. it's in a way or the other, it's to circumvent the requirement of parking spaces in the city of Summit, which I oppose. I think we should not be carrying it.
Mr.
We
Malay,
should vote for that.
stacked parking and mechanical parking is allowed per the city ordinance.
I'm sure it is allowed, and and you have shared that section with me, provided it is approved by the planning and the zoning board.
It's also
And-
not solely a stacked parking issue, which is allowed by the board. It's also a safety issue, which I believe is, and you've testified to having other state professionals come in and give their professional opinion as to the safety and how to best do this. So we're talking about, it's not just above state board, we're bringing in a different type of stacking into Summit and saying that and I believe it's California, this is how they do their best practices. And that's what you're telling us that we're supposed to adjourn on, is a decision made by a different Californian board on how best practices are managed in our city.
That's
I'm not
Wait,
willing to
gentlemen,
adjourn on that.
It's
That's not-
not quite the case. Well, the request is. so
Then
that
I
it
would
be
like
carried-
clarification on
Right.
that.
Because this fire chief's report has apparently erroneous numbers based on it. It was turned around with a few days to spare. The applicant has indicated that they want the opportunity to make sure all the numbers are correct. The fire chief's report is finalized and provided to this board so that we can accurately review everything in advance.
This application has been going on for a while now.
Certainly.
Okay.
And I'm not done, because there is the valet parking.
Well,
part
so
of it.
Mr. Millay, unfortunately, we're not in a position to hear the application. The applicant has not brought their expert witnesses, so
This isn't time for deliberation. We're just considering
The adjournment.
request to adjourn at this
Adjourn,
point.
and I'm opposing to adjourning it.
If we decide, can the board
So
vote on
we're
not
going to hold a
adjourning?
vote we'll hold a vote to adjourn, or to carry, frankly, the case into the December 22nd hearing.
Or not
where
continue?
It's my understanding the applicant intends to address not just the fire safety report, that's likely erroneous, but any other outstanding issue with the objective of bringing this application to a close. And that point was made abundantly clear in the last session, and it was the intention certainly this evening to resolve that, but for reasons I hope the board can appreciate, tonight was not the night to hear an 11th hour fire safety report.
Yes,
Yeah,
can I
I-
just ask a legal question? Mr. Ball, what majority would be required for the D-variance issue here? Would still a simple majority be required to adjourn?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm in favor of carrying it to December, and I'm also in favor of Mr. Steiner's suggestion that the applicant be required to provide new notice based on the significant changes in the application.
I would like to clarify the record and kind of correct our chairman. I just get the sense that we're taking a pot shot at the fire chief. And I'm not sure that that's appropriate or wise. I think we want our fire chief's position to be clear and made clear by him. I've seen nothing from him that says I made a mistake. I've heard nothing from him that he made a mistake, and I saw him 5 hours ago and he could have said something. But he was very appreciative of the fact that we were going to delay and give everybody a chance to work it out. So I want to keep us on an even keel with both sides of this application, and would renew my motion, and I'm assuming you are waiving the time for the board to act
Of course.
on that, and all the other technicalities that we need to deal with.
And that's right, and Mr. Steiner, that's correct. A fair statement is there's ambiguity in one of the professional reviews, and for the due diligence of the board, the rigor of the work that we undertake, it's fair to the applicant, fair to the residents of the city of Summit to see that ambiguity resolved. It's possible that the opinion as is written by the fire chief and fire department may not change, but the representation that we've received from the applicant and others that are involved is that it may very well change, and we want to resolve that.
So you guys work it out after we give you till the day, 3 days before Christmas.
Oh, I agree with the vice chair on that one. We had inquired about trying to find a different date, but it's not feasible.
Okay, so with that,
We do publish into the 2023, January 4th and January 18th.
Once we move into the new year, you have your reconstitution, and at that point, now we're just pushing this pass. I'd
Yep.
like to,
Just wanted to make the board aware of what's already published.
Okay, so with that, do we have a motion to carry this application to December 22nd with notice?
I'm happy to make that motion with notice.
With notice. That's acceptable to you,
everything
Mr. Weber? Yes, with notice?
that's fine, yes,
That's fine.
Mr.
Thank you
Chairman,
very much.
Mr. Vice Chairman.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Yuko. Mr. Lee, will you give us a roll call, please?
I will. Mr. Spur,
Yes.
Mr. Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko,
Yes.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
No.
Mr. Lakis,
Yes.
Ms. Toth.
Aren't I number 8? But yes.
I'm sorry, correct. Yep, 7, Mr. Lakis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, on with, we have resolutions to pass, minutes to pass, and then we're going to enter into executive session to discuss 2023 RFQs, so the evening's not entirely lost. Mr. Nelson, you're welcome to hang out, but otherwise, I don't think Winbury's open tonight, but maybe the Elks. All right.
Is that on record?
Yeah, I'm afraid it is.
He's a fun guy. I wish I was with him, right? All right. Mr. Delory, would you work us through the resolutions for memorialization?
Okay, so we have 23 Whitridge Road. Looking for a motion on
We
passage of that.
have a motion for 23 Whitridge Road?
So
Can you confirm for us the voting members by chance?
Sure,
Sorry.
they include Mr. Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Yuko, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Malay, Ms. Toth, and Mr. Gonzalez.
Motion to approve.
Okay, I'm going to take a roll call on that. That'll be Mr. Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko.
I'm abstaining only because I did not get the email with the resolution, so I didn't review it.
Okay. Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Ms. Toth,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Okay, that carries. Next is 206 Oak Ridge Avenue. Participants in voting are Mr. Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Yuko, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Malay, Ms. Toth. Starting,
So moved.
Second.
roll call vote will be starting with Mr. Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko,
Same abstention.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Ms. Toth.
Yes.
That carries. 25 Sherman Avenue. Voting members, Mr. Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Yuko, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Malay, Ms. Toth. Starting with Mr. Steiner, we have a motion, please.
Second.
Mr. Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko,
Abstain?
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Ms. Toth.
Yes.
Okay, that carries. And we finally have 115 Butler Parkway. Again, eligible members are Mr. Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Yuko, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Malay, Ms. Toth. May I have a motion?
Moved. Second.
Roll call, starting with Mr. Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko,
Abstain?
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Ms. Toth.
Yes.
That carries.
Okay. And minutes for approval, October 3rd, 2022.
Just send them on down.
Can we have a motion on minutes? October 3rd.
So moved?
Second?
Okay, we'll do a voice on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unopposed, no abstained. Those are carried.
Excellent. We need a vote to move into executive session.
Yep, we'll need a motion, yep. We will not be making any decisions, so there will we will not be returning.
Are we not we may potentially be sending them out, is that not action?
I don't believe that's actually considered action. That would require a vote by the board.
Okay,
To
good.
put out a request for qualifications you're referring to, is that
Right.
right? Yes.
Yeah, it's changed, but okay.
If you were to select it, obviously.
No, it's,
So we'll just need a motion to enter into executive session, understanding that we won't return back to public session in a second.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
Okay, voice vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
All right.
Seeing none.
Make sure Jay shuts off the camera, and thank you for driving out.
Ciao.
Nice to see you.